Hollywood glamour has always hidden dark secrets behind its glittering facade. Beneath the flashing cameras and glowing marquees, an industry built on dreams has too often concealed nightmares. The price of fame sometimes went far beyond hard work and talent, extending into territory that would shock even the most jaded viewers. Over the decades, some of the biggest names in entertainment have come forward with stories so disturbing that the industry tried desperately to keep them buried. What happens when the dream of stardom collides with the reality of power abused? These are 13 casting couch confessions, dark revelations that pull back the curtain on the side of Hollywood they never wanted you to see. The phrase casting couch refers to a practice where powerful industry figures sought compromising favors in exchange for roles or career advancement. While the words themselves sound like a relic of the past, the reality they describe is anything but outdated. For much of the 20th century, and even into the 21st, this dynamic quietly shaped the careers and lives of countless performers. Some believed compliance was the price of success. Others resisted, often at great personal and professional cost. For aspiring stars, these encounters weren't just uncomfortable. They were deeply upsetting experiences that left lasting impacts. And no one was more vulnerable than early career performers, often teenagers, thrust into an adult world with little guidance or protection. Hollywood's obsession with youth and beauty created a perfect storm. Ambition, opportunity, and desperation intersected in ways that left many performers cornered by impossible choices. Choices no one should ever have to make. The following stories reveal how pervasive this problem was. They also show the bravery of those who later chose to speak out, even when doing so meant risking reputations, careers, or credibility. Shirley Temple was more than a child actor. She was the face of hope during the Great Depression. At her peak in the 1930s, she was the world's biggest box office draw, beloved for her charm, dancing, and distinctive curls. Presidents praised her. Her films lifted audiences in dark times, and she was considered untouchable. But in her memoir, Child Star, Temple recalled a chilling moment from 1940. At just 12 years old, she met with an MGM producer known for his adventuresome casting couch. What should have been a routine professional discussion turned deeply unsettling when the producer behaved inappropriately toward her. The fact that this happened to Shirley Temple, a performer already at the height of fame, shows how little protection even the biggest stars had. Fame did not shield her. Studio contracts did not shield her. Public adoration did not shield her. Her story forces us to ask, if Temple, one of the most famous children in the world, was vulnerable, what chance did unknown hopefuls have when walking into a closed office with a powerful producer? Temple's revelation also shattered the myth that misconduct was limited to desperate newcomers. It was not about access. It was about power, and about the belief that no one, not even America's sweetheart, was beyond reach. Her testimony also laid groundwork for later generations. By admitting that even she, the most cherished child star of her time, had endured misconduct, Temple reminded the world that no performer should be treated as expendable. Decades later, British actress Thandie Newton shared her own painful memory. Newton, who would go on to win awards for her performances in Crash and Westworld, began acting very young, but her first experiences were marked not by encouragement, but by exploitation disguised as professional direction. As a teenager, she was told by a casting director to sit in a compromising position while being filmed from an angle that had nothing to do with the requirements of the script. At the time, Newton was too inexperienced to understand what was happening. It was only years later, with the benefit of hindsight, that she realized how she had been manipulated. Her story illustrates just how vulnerable youthful ambition can be. The promise of a role, the authority of an adult behind the camera, and the lack of protection for newcomers created a perfect storm. When Newton finally shared her experience publicly, it was a wake-up call. She exposed how misconduct was often hidden behind industry jargon and excuses, and her testimony offered solidarity to younger performers who may have thought they were alone. Newton's candor has since made her a respected voice in the fight for accountability. She turned personal pain into advocacy, helping to push Hollywood toward difficult conversations about systemic change. Judy Garland's story is perhaps the most heartbreaking of them all. Known around the world as Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz, Garland embodied innocence and wonder on screen. Behind the scenes, she endured years of pressure and exploitation. According to her biographer Gerald Clark, MGM studio head Louis B. Mayer repeatedly crossed personal boundaries with Garland between the ages of 16 and 20. He told her he was showing her where her heart was, while behaving in ways that left her scarred. For Garland, the studio that made her a star also became her prison. She was under strict contracts, monitored constantly, and even controlled in her daily habits. The emotional toll was profound. Her struggles later in life, her exhaustion, her dependence on studio-provided pills, her constant battle with image cannot be separated from what she endured as a teenager. Garland's story is a stark reminder that Hollywood's most iconic films were often created in environments that allowed misconduct to flourish unchecked. The contrast between Dorothy's journey through Oz and Garland's real life could not be starker. One was a tale of finding home, the other a reality of being trapped. Her story reminds us that beneath the technicolor magic of classic Hollywood was often a very different truth. By the 1960s, Hollywood was evolving. New filmmakers were challenging the old studio system, and women like Goldie Hawn were rising to stardom in television and film. But behind the scenes, the same power games were being played. Hawn, who would later win an Academy Award and become a household name, wrote in her autobiography about a devastating early experience. At 19, she met cartoonist Al Cap. Instead of offering mentorship, Cap acted inappropriately. When Hawn rejected him, he sneered that she would never make anything of her life. It was an attempt not just to intimidate, but to crush her spirit. Hawn, of course, proved him spectacularly wrong. She built a career filled with critical and commercial success. But her story shows how many others may have believed such threats and walked away from Hollywood before their dreams had a chance to unfold. Her recollection also underscores a recurring pattern. Men in positions of power sometimes weaponized rejection, punishing women for saying no. This made silence seem safer than speaking out, trapping many in cycles of fear. Rinna, known for her work on Melrose Place and later reality television, revealed that she lost a major TV role because she refused to comply with a producer's request to make a compromising gesture in exchange for the part. Her story is powerful in its bluntness. There was no subtlety, no pretense of artistic direction. It was a direct demand, presented as if it were normal. Rinna's refusal cost her the role, but it preserved her dignity. Her courage in sharing this story later gave other performers permission to admit that these demands were still happening well into the 1990s and 2000s. It also revealed how misconduct was not limited to film. It thrived in television too, where competitive casting and the promise of long-running contracts gave producers leverage over hopeful performers. Jenny McCarthy rose to fame in the 1990s, known for her comedic timing and bold personality. But her early years in Hollywood included a moment that could have derailed her career. McCarthy claims that during an audition for Under Siege 2, action star Steven Seagal pressured her to change unnecessarily, insisting the script required on-screen exposure when it did not. She left the audition immediately, likely saving herself from greater harm, but losing the role. McCarthy's experience reveals another troubling pattern: manipulation through false script requirements. By inventing a creative necessity, powerful figures could pressure performers into compromising situations. It also underscores that misconduct wasn't limited to executives. Actors, too, could perpetuate the culture if they wielded enough influence. Her story illustrates how the casting couch mentality wasn't confined to auditions. It seeped into every level of production, from scripts to costumes to on-set behavior. Susan Sarandon's early years in New York were shaped by the same dynamics. She recounted how a man she trusted for guidance acted aggressively, crossing physical lines during what should have been a professional encounter. What makes Sarandon's account chilling is not just the behavior itself, but her reflection that it wasn't entirely unexpected. In her words, such conduct, while disgusting, was treated as part of the industry. Her story is a sobering reminder of how normalized misconduct had become. Young actresses didn't always ask if it would happen, but rather when. Sarandon's later success did not erase those early experiences, but her willingness to share them shone a light on how deeply systemic the problem was, not just in Hollywood, but in every entertainment hub where power was concentrated. Her account shows that misconduct did not discriminate based on geography. Whether in Hollywood or New York, the same rules of power and silence applied. Even Gwyneth Paltrow, born into a Hollywood family and seemingly protected by connections, was not immune. As a young actress, she was told to finish the meeting in a private room. The directness shocked her. Despite growing up around producers and actors, she had not anticipated such blatant misconduct. Her story proves that privilege and pedigree provided no shield. If insiders like Paltrow could be targeted, it meant no one was safe from the culture of entitlement that had taken root in the industry. Her revelation also served as a turning point for public perception. If someone with Paltrow's background could be pressured, it dismantled the illusion that casting couch culture only preyed on outsiders desperate for fame. Charlize Theron's path to Hollywood fame was anything but easy. At 19, newly arrived from South Africa, she was invited to a producer's home for what was billed as a professional meeting. There she was told she should wear revealing sleepwear. Theron's instincts told her to leave, and she did. But her story shows how easily newcomers could be trapped. She had little knowledge of Hollywood culture, no family nearby, and no safety net. For someone else, the desire to succeed might have overridden the warning bells. Theron's quick decision to walk away likely spared her from joining the long list of casting couch victims. Her honesty about the incident later became part of her public image, an actress unafraid to tell the truth, even when it revealed the ugliness behind the glamour. Megan Fox's confession is particularly shocking because it challenges a long-held assumption that once an actress becomes famous, she is safe. Fox revealed that her casting couch experiences didn't happen at the beginning of her career, but after she became a household name. "Any casting couch nonsense I've experienced has been since I've become famous," she said. Some of these people, Hollywood legends. Her words expose a darker side of fame. For some powerful figures, targeting an established celebrity wasn't risky. It was a way to inflate their own sense of importance. Fox's story highlights how the problem wasn't just about access to opportunity. Sometimes it was about ego, control, and entitlement. Her willingness to call out legends was particularly bold because it hinted at how even the most celebrated names could be complicit, shielded by their fame and the industry's reluctance to hold them accountable. Helen Mirren, today regarded as one of the greatest actresses of her generation, revealed in 2007 that she had endured misconduct decades earlier. In 1964, at the start of her career, director Michael Winner asked her to present herself and turn around during a meeting. What should have been professional turned degrading in an instant. It took Mirren over 40 years to feel ready to share her story. That silence alone shows the risks involved. Speaking up could mean ridicule, disbelief, or professional consequences. Her eventual decision to name names marked a turning point. It was a signal that silence was no longer the only option, even if the events had happened decades earlier. Mirren's courage encouraged a new generation of actors to believe that it was never too late to tell the truth, and that their voices mattered, no matter how much time had passed. Perhaps the most haunting testimony comes from Corey Feldman, a child star of the 1980s. Feldman has long said that the #1 problem in Hollywood was and is the exploitation of young performers. He recalled being surrounded by individuals who targeted youth when he was just 14. Unlike many other accounts, Feldman suggests not isolated incidents but organized networks of misconduct protected by silence. For years, he was dismissed or ridiculed, yet he persisted, risking his career to keep the conversation alive. His bravery forced Hollywood to confront a reality it had long ignored. Feldman's story demonstrates the importance of persistence. Even when his warnings were ignored, he refused to be silenced. And in time, his voice helped fuel a broader cultural reckoning. Taken together, these 13 confessions paint a damning portrait of Hollywood's history. From Shirley Temple in the 1940s to Megan Fox in the 2000s, the pattern is disturbingly consistent. Power exploited, silence enforced, careers manipulated. The casting couch was never just a rumor. It was an institution, and it was one that thrived not because people didn't know about it, but because too many chose to look the other way. These stories force us to confront uncomfortable truths about how the entertainment industry was built, not just on talent and creativity, but on the backs of performers who were pressured, silenced, and controlled. In recent years, Hollywood has faced a reckoning. Advocacy groups, new safeguards, and public awareness campaigns have begun to reshape the landscape. There are now hotlines, codes of conduct, and clauses in contracts designed to protect performers. More actors are speaking openly, and more executives are being held accountable than ever before. But change is slow, and power imbalances remain. The true test of reform will not be policies on paper, but whether the culture itself can shift, whether performers can trust that opportunities will no longer come with hidden costs. The most powerful legacy of these stories is not the darkness they describe, but the courage they represent. Shirley Temple, Judy Garland, Thandie Newton, Jane Fonda, Lisa Rinna, Jenny McCarthy, Susan Sarandon, Gwyneth Paltrow, Charlize Theron, Megan Fox, Helen Mirren, Corey Feldman, each one broke the silence. Each one chipped away at the myth that Hollywood's glamour was pure. And together, they created ripples that turned into waves of change. Their testimonies show that no matter how powerful the system seems, truth has a way of breaking through. The casting couch may be part of Hollywood's past, but it doesn't have to define its future. The lights of Hollywood still shine brightly, drawing dreamers from around the world. But thanks to these survivors, newcomers now step into the spotlight with greater awareness, stronger protections, and the courage to demand respect. Their stories remind us that fame should never come at the cost of dignity, and they remind us of something even more powerful, that speaking truth to power, even decades later, can change industries, cultures, and lives. Because in the end, these confessions are not just about Hollywood. They are about resilience, accountability, and the belief that even the darkest secrets eventually come to light. The lights of Hollywood shine no less brightly today, continuing to draw hopeful talent from around the world. But thanks to these brave voices, those entering the industry now do so with eyes wide open, aware of the dangers that lurk behind closed doors, and knowing they have the right to demand better. The most powerful legacy of these confessions isn't just exposing Hollywood's dark past, but helping to ensure a safer future for all who dare to pursue their dreams in the entertainment industry. Each new generation benefits from the courage of those who came before, inheriting not just opportunities, but protections won through painful experience and hard-fought battles for accountability. Though the system remains imperfect, these stories have forever changed how we understand the relationship between power and vulnerability in entertainment, making it harder for offenders to operate with the impunity they once enjoyed. The stories we've explored reveal a Hollywood where power corrupted absolutely and silence protected the guilty. But they also reveal the extraordinary resilience of those who survived, rebuilt, and eventually thrived despite what they endured. Their testimonies stand as both warning and inspiration, a reminder that even the darkest secrets eventually come to light, and that speaking truth to power, however belatedly, can help change systems that once seemed unchangeable. The casting couch may be part of Hollywood's history, but thanks to these confessions, it need not be part of its future. The voices of these survivors, once silenced by fear and shame, now resonate through an industry forced to confront its failings and commit to something better. Not perfect, perhaps, but better than what came before. And in that improvement lies hope, not just for Hollywood, but for all industries where power imbalances create the conditions for exploitation to flourish unchecked.